Wait, we watched this is from 6 hours ago.
All right, a live look at Capitol Hill, where a lot and not a lot is happening right now. Time is quickly running out for lawmakers to come to a compromise and do their jobs to avoid a government shutdown, keep the government funded. This morning, there is still no signs of a deal on the horizon. CNN's Harry Enton is running the numbers on this in a specific way, how one party you see in the numbers is facing more pressure than the others, and that's the Democrats. Why?
Why is it that the Democrats, in my mind, are facing more pressure, those Democratic leaders? And that is because their base thinks that their party leaders are weak. Look at this.
Well, their base knows that the party leaders are weak because the party leaders are weak. And this is a thing that I kept repeating over and over again. At least the Republican base thinks that Trump is awesome. Okay. At least there is like a base at all for the Republican Party. Both of the parties are unpopular. Donald Trump's approval ratings are underwater. Having said that, his own party's base of support still supports him. Democrats don't even have their own party's base of support any longer because of all of the issues that I have been railing about over and over and over again. Meanwhile, liberals have been yelling at me instead of trying to fucking yell at the Democrats, alongside their parents who have become radicalized over the course of the past couple of months, demanding that Democratic politicians put their bodies on the fucking line. Meanwhile, you got dumb neoliberals on the internet still trying to relitigate this discourse. There has to be a reason for this. And the reason is not because all the Barbaras and Debras are tuning into the HasanAbi broadcast to develop some sense of discontent towards the Democratic administration. They're just literally looking at the situation with Donald Trump destroying the American federal government, Donald Trump destroying the Constitution, spitting on it every day, wiping his cheeks with it, and going, where are the Democrats? Why are they not doing anything? Why are they not channeling the discontent that we feel right now? That's it. And in the absence of good leadership from the establishment Democrats, who unironically think that if they just stick around and quietly just wait for this period to go away, that they'll be rewarded in the midterm elections for their inaction. And it's very stupid for them to do so, because this is going to lead to, one, more discontent and obviously mass mobilization. And then that mass mobilization is going to be actively stamped out by the administration. They're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to even make a big fuss about the Constitution being in tatters. Okay. Republicans are lighting the Constitution on fire, lighting the First Amendment on fire, for example. And there is no guarantee that the Democrats will be rewarded for simply being the opposition party when their own audience doesn't think that they are the actual opposition. That's why they keep saying, you guys suck. You're complicit. You're engaging in an act of appeasement. Anyway, Harry Emden.
Democrats on who has strong leaders. Look at this. 54% say neither party, 54% of Democrats say neither party has strong leaders. Among Republicans, 80% of their base thinks Republicans have strong leaders. Yet among Democrats, just 35% of Democrats say their party has strong leaders. When you add together this 54% with this 11%, we're talking about 2/3 of Democrats who say neither party or Republicans have stronger leaders, as compared to just 35% who say their own parties have strong leaders. As I said at the top, weak is how Democrats view their leaders in Washington.
But facing more pressure too, does this suggest, and we'll continue with this, but the question then is, does this suggest that the pressure is for them to cut a deal or to stand against what they think is what Republicans want? That remains kind of the question in and of this. But getting stuff done. Yeah. Who gets stuff done?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the other thing. It's not just that Democrats think that their party leaders are weak. They also think they don't get anything done. I mean, take a look here. Okay, Democrats and who get things done. Again, it's just 50. We get this 50% of Democrats say neither party gets anything done. Just 41% of Democrats say their own party gets stuff done. When you add in this 9% of Democrats who say the Republican Party is more likely to get things done with neither party, we're talking about 3 in 5 Democrats who say neither party or Republicans are more likely to get things done than the Democratic Party. And again, that is the complete inverse of how Republicans feel, because 77% of Republicans think their own party leaders are likely to get things done.
I wonder why. Perhaps it's because the Republicans have designed a political environment where they do offer some red meat to the base, no matter how silly or inconsequential it might seem, as opposed to the material realities that must be addressed. as opposed to like the economy, right? They don't do the economy, but at least they go, oh, we're going to dominate transgenders. We're going to dominate the migrants. So at least for the base of support within the Republican Party, they go, well, it kind of feels like they're doing something. It feels like they're doing some of the things that they promised, and they're relatively happy. It takes a long time for those guys to recognize that their pockets are still hurting, in spite of the reality that the Republicans are in charge, right? But that is the reason why they hammer on the trans Tifa narratives, they hammer on the transgender narratives, they hammer on the idea that like undocumented migrants are responsible for a lot of crime and all this shit. That's the reason. It's so that they just keep their base of support together. They recognize that there are radical elements within their base, and they offer them treats. They offer them treats that are, objectively violent for broad swaths of the public, and actually create an environment of tremendous discontent. But if you look at the way that the Republicans have been able to hold this coalition together, that's the reason, right? Objectively violent treats, yes. It comes across like it's a distraction away from their inability to address the cost of living crisis, but it's a distraction that is very violent if you're a trans person. If you're a trans person, you are fearful of your future in this country. If you're an undocumented migrant, you're fearful of sending your children to school because you're worried that like ICE is going to kidnap them. That's an objectively violent environment. It's an objectively unstable environment that this administration has created. But the purpose of why they do that is because they treat entire swaths of the population, marginalized communities, some of the most vulnerable people in this country, as discardable, disposable. They can get away with doing violence towards them simply as a message, simply to say like, oh, we are doing something.
Compared to just 41% of Democrats, about half that level, who think their own leaders get things done. Again, Democrats just don't think very highly of their party at this point, and that is why there's so much pressure on those leaders, in my mind, in Washington to actually do something that satisfies their base.
Add all of this up, what does it say about the view of the Democratic Party in general?
Yeah, I mean, here is a line from Donald Trump himself, actually. Look at that.
I thought it would be met with fury on the left, but they're sort of giving up, I must be honest with you. They've had it. They've had it with Trump. They've been after me for so many years now. Here we are. Here we are. Come to the White House anytime you'd like. No, they've given up.
We all need to not ignore the fact that Democrats also help ICE gain as much power as they have now, thanks to them refusing to address our needs like student loan forgiveness or debt relief. Now ICE is able to dangle it over everyone's heads like a shiny set of keys. Oh, for sure. They're saying that the left has given up. They're not even fighting any longer. He's saying that to a room full of generals. This is from the generals meeting that took place early this morning, where Pete Kegsbreath demanded every single general in the United States of America in this like unprecedented move come down, I think, to Virginia, where him and Trump delivered this like rousing speech, you know?
A lot of bad people, but all over that's been so popular. It's been very popular. I really thought that we were going to have to sort of fight it through. There's been no fight.
I really thought that we were going to have some sort of fight it through. There's been no fight, he says. Now, of course, there has been a fight. There has been a fight. But the reason why he doesn't think there's been a fight is because the fight has not been channeled by electeds, okay? It's not been championed by any sort of representatives or any sort of leadership. There are some who have exhibited discontent at times, like Chris Van Hollen, and the actions that he took was a great example, and something that I think more Democrats should be doing. This is something that I talked about at the time, right? When he went down to El Salvador and demanded the return of Kilmar Abrega Garcia, that was fighting. That was good leadership. But when he says like the left is not fighting, from these guys' perspective, none of the major leaders of the Democratic Party are actually collectively making a big fuss about all of the awfulness that has been presented, all the awful shit that these guys are doing. And that's precisely the reason why Democrats' own base, their voters, people like yourself, your parents, your grandparents, they are also angry at the Democratic Party as well, because you don't have to love the Democrats. I certainly don't, but they're the only game in town as it stands. And therefore, we have to use the Democratic Party. We have to use the elected representatives to put up a strong fight, because they still, as elected representatives, have a tremendous ability to galvanize the rest of the public. And if you don't see them out there protesting alongside yourselves, you're not going to get the confidence necessary to put up an even stronger fight against this administration. That's the reason why a lot of people are frustrated. We need to start seeing these electeds out in the streets. Right now, it feels as though the electeds are disgusted with our demands. They think our demands are ridiculous. Oh, how dare they want us to do something? Republicans are in charge. What can we do? It's ridiculous. Be more like Brad Lander. Be more like Chris Van Hollen. Be more like Zoran Mamdani. Be less like Hakeem Jeffries or Cory Booker. We want more Cory Bush and less Cory Booker.
If you think your party has weak leaders, if you think your party can't get anything done, well, this is, I think, the real pressure facing Democrats at this particular point. Democrats who think their parties need major changes or more, look at this. 57% of Democrats say their party needs major changes or more, compared to just 43% who say minor or no changes. Again, very different than the Republican Party, where 21% of Republicans, only 21%, say their party needs major changes or more. Again,
Democrats look to those numbers and go, ooh, that means 21% of Republicans could be convinced to vote alongside the Democrat voting bloc. If only we just get more racist and more transphobic. Ooh, maybe we can get those guys on board. It's like, you're stupid. You're dumb. You lost because of that stupid opinion that you have. You need to stop this. You need to stop this way of thinking right now. We do not have the time, okay? We do not have the comforts. It is such an idiotic argument. And it's one that I keep having, even with some normie friends of mine with more conservative values or more liberal values as well, over and over again. Like, there are people out there, especially the more, if they have graduated from an institute of higher learning, like Ivy League or whatever, I have seen in my own experience the likelihood that they will demonstrate Ezra Klein style behavior. There's a higher likelihood that you're going to behave like Ezra Klein or take notes from the likes of Ezra Klein and assume that, like, this is rugged pragmatism